Hi. So this is going to be a little bit different to most of the sort of videos that you see from me. So I guess a little bit of a warning. This is going to be some heavy emotional stuff, but you know what else is new, right? So right now, at the time of recording this, it is quite late on the 26th of March 2022, and in less than a week, well, in exactly a week from today, at the time of recording this, and it'll be the 2nd of April that this goes up, in a week's time, the Sorry EP that I put out last year turns exactly a year old. And I've not really talked about this project before, because I kind of didn't really know how, but I also didn't know what I wanted to say about it. I just knew that I made it like in 3 or 4 days, and then I decided I wanted it out like the next Friday, which I think it was a Friday. But that EP has been something that's stuck with me, and I release a lot of music, right? Unless by some bizarre turn of events with the YouTube algorithm, this is your first time seeing this face, which maybe don't start with this one. But if you know me and you know Project Air, you know that I release a lot of music, and I don't always get to talk about the music as much as I'd like to talk about it. And some of that's choice, right? Some of that is me deciding not to speak about it as much. I gotta find a comfortable way to hold microphones. This is new to me. So I thought now might be quite a good time to talk about the project, to talk about Sorry, and to talk about how it became a trilogy, because if you followed me for a while, you will know that the Sorry EP, which was just going to be a standalone thing, eventually was followed up by the Heal EP and the After EP to make up a trilogy, 5 tracks on each, 15 tracks total. And they were 3 distinct phases, and that was never the plan, which is such as the way, right? But so it started with the Sorry EP, which I'm not going to go into loads and loads of crazy detail with all the personal elements here, but effectively, I went through a breakup. Effectively, well, literally. And it sucked. I mean, they do, right? No one ever goes like, yes, a breakup. But, yeah, it was like my entire world felt like it was falling apart. Everything was changing, and I was terrified, and I didn't want to be here. So I had a few days here before I could go up and stay with Colours in Context, where I stayed for nearly a month. And in the days that I had between being able to go up, because it was such short notice, I made the Sorry EP. It was sort of made from scratch. There were 2 existing demos, which became the songs Year and Happiness in Reverse. But other than those having like a sort of bare bones demo, the whole thing happened in like 3 or 4 days. Fully recorded, written, mixed, mastered. And I bawled my eyes out so much making this EP. And now when I listen to it, because I have it playing now as I'm talking to you, it still brings me back to that time. But in a different, maybe through a different lens now, you know. And I knew when I finished it, I didn't want to hold on to it. I didn't want it, like, I couldn't keep it with me. It had to go out into the world, not as a statement to the person that, you know, that was on the other side of this, because that's the thing to remember, right, is, you know, there's always someone else on the other side. Whenever there is like a breakup or something, I can write about it, but you still have to be like somewhat sensitive. And I mean, my judgment was definitely clouded for sure, but it felt like the right thing to do, to just at least sort of capture that moment in time from like primarily a journalistic, autobiographical sort of standpoint, where I just wanted to really embrace how I was feeling as much as I hated it. And so, yeah, I am a little bit like, I don't know how to word it. I'm a little bit amazed that it's nearly already a year old, because it means it's like a year since my entire life changed completely. But eventually I came home. I came back here and began just like the longest stint of isolation, not because of, the world, but because of just being by myself and learning to live by myself. And it's taken a really long time. Like everything took a while to even be finalized. Like it was one of those processes that was long and painful and drawn out in so many ways. But I think through that came like a lot of self-discovery, and I've learned to be thankful about that. And I think in some ways it's almost funny to me that I'm not sorry anymore, because I don't think I need to be, because I've definitely moved past that time. But it's hard to not be reminded of it, especially when it comes up on an anniversary like this, of this release and what it stood for. I'm still in the same place. It looks a bit different, but I'm still like physically in the same location. And I don't know, it marks the start of like this entire last year. And that was kind of where Heal and After came into it. It's quite directly inspired by a trilogy of albums that one of my favorite bands, Hammock, did. They did a 3-part series, and it dealt with loss from a different perspective, from like a life and mourning and like recovery in that sense. But I wanted to do something from my standpoint, which was a trilogy. And the Hammock trilogy kind of deals with the initial mourning and grief, and then it deals with kind of slowly journeying back towards the light, and then the third album deals with like this silence that comes afterwards. And so I wanted to do something kind of similar. So the second EP, Heal, was my midpoint project. I remember having the idea for both EPs. I knew I wanted to call them Heal and After. I did the artwork for them just a few weeks before Heal came out. And it's like, this is the beautiful thing about like art sometimes, is that you can have something that starts with just this emotional reaction of an idea. And that was the Sorry EP, and it was its own thing. There was never going to be, I didn't sit down and go like, right, this will then have another 5-track and then another 5-track at these times. It was all so natural. And I think that like it's kind of like, in that sense, sometimes I'm excited to see my own art like come together. And because I don't know what I'm going to write sometimes. Sometimes I'll sit down and be like, yep, I'm going to write this song about this. But, I didn't know I was going to make any of those EPs. And, had those things never happened, that music would never exist, other than those 2 demos, which were never going to get finished. Otherwise, they were just sat on a hard drive. So where Heal kind of came from was wanting to capture this midpoint where I wasn't better. I wasn't over things. I wasn't in a good place. I was in maybe a better place than, I had been, because in the months prior, I had turned to a lot of heavy drinking, even if I was here by myself, Instagram live streaming as much as I could, and just trying to do stuff that, made me feel a bit more connected and but also a bit more disconnected from the actual reality, because there's this thing that I think that we always forget. If you go and see a show or something like that, you often forget that the people on the stage have lives that they have to go back to, where they still have all sorts of challenges, just everyday challenges, right? And that's the case for everyone, right? It's celebrities, everyone you see on the street, and it's something I think about a lot. There's a word for it called sonder, which is the realization that everyone around you has a life as kind of deep and as complex as yours, and that's something I find sometimes just really overwhelming and mind-blowing. So I was doing all these things to distract from the fact that when I stopped, I still had to deal with everything. So it's sleeping just wasn't happening. I was completely all over the place and broken. But through that, that's the journey. For ages I thought that there was something wrong with me, and that I was making a mistake by being like that and allowing myself to be so negatively influenced. But I think that then when you get to the After EP, which was the last EP in the series, that was meant to be this more retrospect, looking in the rearview mirror sort of EP, but also looking forwards at the same time, and kind of putting everything behind me, but also putting my best foot forwards. And I think that in some ways the After EP became, for me, the Sorry EP was always the one I had the biggest attachment to. And then when I made this last EP, it was those 3 EPs became these bookends of my life. Obviously Heal is the middle point, but Sorry and After are in a way the start and the end. From late March, early April to January in 2022. And it's I think when you have to go through a process like that takes nearly a year to kind of heal and to really kind of reconnect with yourself, it can be really disheartening, disenchanting, I don't know. But I no longer feel the need to disassociate and all those sorts of things. And this music has been so important to me. It's just crazy that it's nearly a year old, right? I still remember on the release day of After finding out that this EP that I'd put together with only one other person that had been involved in the entire process, which was Viv. Viv's work on the song Breathe was amazing, and it's things come really full circle, right? Because I put some vocals in some tracks across all of the EPs, but in the song Happiness in Reverse, which was on Sorry, I sing something where one of the lines is "Until I can't breathe anymore." And without thinking, I wrote a song called Breathe, with the help of Viv, which has been a massively important song and has really kind of tied the whole thing together really nicely. And I remember finding out on the day that it had gotten 5 different editorials across 2 or 3 different songs, 3 different songs actually, on the After EP, and it became the biggest EP of the 3. And I don't like to talk about streaming milestones. I don't like milestones. I don't like looking at numbers. It's very, I don't know, it's very disconnected from the creative process. But for that part, for that finale to this journey, to get some recognition, it felt pretty good. And it was I say to people a lot, I don't believe in fate, but sometimes it feels like life really wants me to, so yeah, I know this is a little bit different to my usual format of content, but I wanted to do something a bit more vloggy, and maybe a little bit more honest, and to maybe just give some context behind this project that I'd been working on for nearly a year that's, finished and is now about to go around again. Not in real life though, thankfully. But I think some of you who might have seen like my vlogs and stuff before probably knew I wasn't okay. And maybe I'm not completely there yet, I don't know. But I'm in so much of a better place. I got good people around me. I've been making new friends, which is awesome, and just reconnecting with music again, and I cannot wait to share some of what's coming. There's so much new music in the works, I don't know how to fit it all in. But yeah, if you've watched all of this, thank you very much. Thank you for giving me your time and showing an interest in this. I'm not really promoting anything for a change. I mean, I guess in a way I'm promoting these EPs, but they've been out for a long time now. So, I just wanted to share some extra context, and in the hopes that I guess maybe someone might be able to relate to this and to, understand that there is a journey to healing. And that's kind of been my last year. But here's to the future, I guess. So, yeah, that's everything I have to say. And I will see you soon for whatever's next. I've been thinking about doing a studio tour. Would anyone be interested in a studio? I mean, it's a small room. It's not really much of a tour, but maybe just like a rundown of my creative space if anyone's interested. So drop a comment, drop a like, drop a thumbs up, do the YouTubes, do a comment, do a subscribe, and have a good morning, day, evening, weekend, birthday, celebration. I don't know. I'm rambling, so I will see you in the next video. So bye.